Morning, everyone. This is Narjes Zivdar from UNHCR in Iran. I'm going to talk about my research on community insight into risk and resilience, focusing on the grassroots roles for supporting displacement-affected population in a changing climate. Any views or opinions expressed in this presentation are those of mine and are based off my critical reflection on what I actually do and my empirical studies, and do not necessarily represent the views of UNHCR or United Nations. First, I'm going to give you a brief introduction on Afghan displacement and the climate in a changing climate in Iran as the host country. And then I'm going to conduct the analysis of the risks for the refugees and the findings of the research which we presented at the end. 42 years on since the 1979 Soviet invasion and the waves of displacement from Afghanistan, followed by the US war as of 2001, and more recently the Taliban takeover in 2021, contributed to the longest protracted refugee situation globally, which is Afghan displacement. Iran is the second largest refugee hosting country globally based on the recent data from UNHCR, and currently about 3.80 million Afghans and many more undocumented populations are living in Iran, which are who are forced to flee their home country. But the point is that if you look at the map here, the refugees in Iran are entitled to live or move in limited urban areas, which are located in the areas colored as white, and the ones that are highly at risk regions in terms of climate impact. So as a result of drastic drought and flood events in the country in the recent years, in the recent decade, I would say, and many refugee groups, they have to move from one province to another to somehow diminish the damage, loss, and climate impact, which is exposed by climate-induced disasters. For instance, if you take Tehran, the largest city accommodating largest population of Afghan refugees in Iran, as an example, you're going to see that this is actually the analysis of flood hazard exposures that highlight that the southern part and the water valleys, which are basically the key location of Afghan settlements and residences in the city, are located in those areas, and they do not have sufficient access and linkage to drinking water supply and wastewater networks. And since they do lack access to water network in case of droughts in the future, which is expected, they are the ones who are badly affected by the water scarcity and lack of access to basic services. And they already have fewer resources to handle that. In order to conduct a kind of comprehensive analysis of the risks for the refugees, I consulted the IPCC's schematics of interaction among physical climate system, exposure, and vulnerability. If you look at this diagram, and that I actually take as the analytical framework for the analysis of drivers of risk, you're going to see that, like what I said, the inequalities in distribution of the risk are not only somehow impacted, are not impacted by the climate variabilities and hazard, but also by the socio-economic processes For instance, the way the refugees are being relocated, and settled. And a closer look in those socioeconomic pathways somehow would demonstrate that if you look at the stakeholder analysis of the water, for instance, system, you're going to see that the governance is predominantly addressed by the government, and they have a key role in deciding regarding certain policies, decision making, and whatnot. And as opposed to the previous governance system in Iran, which is based on a communal management of water, for instance. And in the absence of those mediators and community groups, those responsibilities seems to be distributed among the government bodies again, and this brought about a big drawback, which is the elimination of the communicator between the groups, the refugee groups, the residents, and the government and authorities. Without having this, comprehensive and multi-stakeholder plan in place, neither the governor or authorities are going to know about the real challenges in the field, as well as the grassroots insight into risk and the data. On the other side, when we focus, for instance, as the international development agency, when we focus on development as collective identity, community-based approaches often nurture a divide between us and them as the refugees, which even can exacerbate the conflict with those who are not included in particular identity-based definition. For instance, a big group of undocumented refugee population in Iran. And furthermore, the form of community-based participation deployed by development agencies in Iran are rigidly designed to deliver a limited number of predefined outcomes, responding to external priorities rather than the real needs on the ground. So those processes are mediated by local individuals who are, for instance, Mr. X or Mrs. Y, who is the head of the civil society organization authorized by the government. And that even reproduces the unequal power relation. So these inequalities are being reproduced and reinforced and tend to favor elite capture of project benefits, which is even very obvious from the result frameworks that we do have for our project. And all in all, the mentioned shortcomings and drawbacks should not stop community-based work, but somehow to reinvigorate it and to somehow rethink about grassroots insights into risk and resilience and developing the collective capacity of marginalized refugee groups and the civil society organization by generating genuine partnership between the CSOs, communities, and local government. Thank you for your attention.